afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. We're dedicating today's special half-hour Memorial Day program to Vermonters serving in the military. First and foremost are the more than 1,000 men and women serving in the Vermont National Guard who will be deployed overseas this year. When moms and dads serve the country, it's important to understand that their children are involved too. Here's Keith Silva with the story of 3 young women who are helping one another while their dad is on duty.
The Kozakowski sisters are like any set of sisters.
You're the funny one. You're
Funny,
the peacemaker.
loud.
No, she's doing
Zofia is the oldest, followed by Tessia. Last, and certainly not least, is Raina. One thing that makes these young women different from their peers is Sergeant First Class Heath Kozakowski, or as they call him, Dad.
He's very protective, and I like that about him because I'm very sensitive when it comes to movies, and he knows when to tell me to cover my eyes and cover my ears, which I really appreciate.
He's a really goofy guy, and he's just my dad, and I love him.
Currently, Dad is overseas on deployment with the Vermont Army National Guard.
This whole deployment thing's really new to us, so we've never gone through it, and it's really hard, and it's like a totally uncharted territory for us, so it's confusing and brings up a lot of emotions, at least for me.
It's really different, a little uncomfortable and sad at some times, but I know he's there, I know he loves me, and it's just really weird. Like if your best friend is absent from school, except a little bit more than a best friend.
Vermont does not have a military base, which can be isolating for the nearly 2,800 military dependents living in Vermont.
Is there anyone that you know that is going through something similar?
Not that I know of. I go to a high school that has like 200 kids, so we're not very big, and if there is somebody who else is going through it, I don't know.
These military kids, they're super proud, they're super strong, they're super resilient, but one thing we need to keep in mind as the civilian population is that they didn't sign up to be in the military, right?
Brian Stoudenauer is a civilian contractor. He works as a child and youth program coordinator for the Vermont National Guard.
Within the next 12-month time period, Vermont National Guard between the Air and the Army is looking at deploying over 1,000 service members. And that's 1,000 families that have a significant member of their household that's being taken from them. As proud as they are of their service member and their family, and as dedicated as they are to the state of Vermont and to our country, they didn't ask for this necessarily. So they're inherently an at-risk population. And even more so whenever they have a significant member of their household being removed for 6, 8, 12, 18-month time period.
Stoudenauer is part of Military Kids Vermont, a group of youth development organizations, businesses, and individuals who work to support Vermont youth. Recently, Military Kids Vermont received 500 Hero Bears from Vermont Teddy Bear. The bears went to children of service members.
Try northwest.
Military Kids Vermont also partners with Vermont 4-H to host camps and other activities to foster peer-to-peer connections.
They have military kids throughout their programs. So number one for me as the child and youth coordinator for Vermont National Guard is that I know that they're getting good quality service programs within their local communities that's allowing them to also make those peer connections. It would be really tough to reach the corners of Vermont that we're able to reach if it wasn't for 4-H.
The Kozakowski sisters have tried to stay connected to their dad using technology and old-fashioned ways of communicating, but it's far from perfect.
We FaceTimed once. We could barely hear a thing he was talking about because he's on the other side of the world, but it was just good to see his face. Come to find out he's growing a mustache, so never seen that before. So that was pretty funny. We've also been trying to send letters. We've sent 2. The 3 of us have sent 2 letters each. It's like 3 to 4 weeks before he gets them because mail is so slow, but we're just trying to find as many ways as we can to stay in contact, which I think is really important, but it's also really hard.
Another way the sisters have found to cope with their dad's deployment is to make a list of what they want to do when he comes home. Raina's list is very specific.
Eat Fruity Pebbles. That's a kind of cereal.
What else?
Teach him how to play Minecraft.
Okay. Give me one more.
And have a snowball fight. If it's like if we're in December at that time when he comes back.
No hugs, no kisses, nothing like
Yes.
that.
Sophia and Tessia have their own lists of what they want to do when their dad returns. And even though they're working through a lot of emotions, they're also proud of their dad's service to the country.
I don't feel angry at the military or my father for like going on this, but then again, he doesn't really have a choice. I'm just like really happy that he can do this. Like he's able to do this. It's really cool, and he's helping other countries and other places, and it's just like helpful all around, except for the deployment. That kind of stinks.
I'm really proud of my dad. He's been in the Army since he was 17 or 18, I think. He's worked his way up in rankings and important people things that I don't quite understand. There's a lot of complicated stuff in the military, but I feel like I knew this was going to come sometime. I just didn't ever really want to admit to the reality of it happening. But I feel like he has to do what he has to do, and when he gets home, it's just going to be better opportunity for us to learn about, I don't know, what his experience was like when he was away.
The Kozakowskis are proud of their dad's military service. They're also proud of their Polish heritage. As we were wrapping up our interview, Zofia explained why they call their dad Tata.
Tata, we call him Tata. That's what it's Polish for dad.
It's been really weird calling him father or dad.
Zofia summed up what her sisters want to say to their Tata.
I want to say I miss him and I love him, and I honestly can't wait for him to get back. It's weird having him not here.
In Fairleigh, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
We want to extend our thanks to the girls' mom, Amy Kozakowski, and recognize the work and sacrifices she is making while he is serving. Our next segment takes us to Josh's house at Fort Ethan Allen in Colchester. The facility for veterans opened in March. Here's Will Michael with a story that touches on values like compassion and community, as well as issues like service, support, and suicide.
According to the Veterans Administration, they report that in this country, 17 veterans die by suicide each and every day. Josh Palata was one of those veterans. Josh joined the Vermont National Guard in 2009 and was deployed to Afghanistan. In 2014, Josh succumbed to post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries he suffered while proudly serving his country. He was 25. Following his death, family, veterans, and community members established the Josh Palata Fund with the goal of ending veteran suicide. And the fund has helped spawn this facility, which opened just recently. It's Josh's house, a place designed by veterans for veterans. And to learn more, we're joined this afternoon by Josh's mother, also the co-director of the Josh Palata Fund, Val Palata. Good to see you again.
You too, Will. It's been forever. Thank you for having us again.
Well, thank you for hosting us in this new facility. And we'll get to see it throughout the program. It's a beautiful, wonderful place.
Finally.
I also want to say that we have always admired and respected the fact that you're able to talk about issues of veterans and suicide, especially when it involves your own son. And again, thank you for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Will. If you don't talk about it, you can't change it. So my husband Greg and I have always been open about making sure our story is out there so that we can help other veterans.
So supporting servicemen and women is not new to you. You were doing this the moment that Josh joined the Guard. Tell us about some of the ways that you and your family have supported our armed forces.
Yeah, so when Josh joined, I immediately went to the National Guard. They had a parent network group, and I joined that right away. And through those meetings, I met wonderful parents. The thing that was unique about the parent group is that the parents were of members of all branches of the military. Their sons and daughters were in the Army, the National Guard, the Marines, Merchant Marines, Navy. And we really wanted to do something to give back. Our sons and daughters, our sons specifically from the 3rd 172nd Brigade out of the National Guard, was getting ready to deploy. And we really wanted to support them before they came back. So we did a lot of research and chartered the first Blue Star Mothers of America Vermont chapter. And through that, we did a ton of work, raised a lot of money, supported a lot of veterans. They're still very active in supporting them through financial support, emergency support, groceries, oil bills, things like that. So I'm very proud of that.
And through all of that, you learned a lot about PTSD, not only from your son, but from his fellow service members. What have you learned?
You know, I've learned, first of all, not every veteran experiences PTSD. And not only veterans experience PTSD. What I learned is that it takes something more than medication to really help veterans. They're looking for an alternative. They're hurting, they have flashbacks and memories, and they want something that will give them a focus and something bigger than themselves to focus on. You know, a mission, another mission that they had when they were deployed. I think that's one of the things that people don't really realize, is that it's not all veterans are suicidal. So that was a learning curve for me, because I didn't realize until Josh died that it's more the connection that they're lacking.
Tell us about the genesis of the Josh Palata Fund. What was the goal and what it's led to today?
Yeah, so after Josh died, we really, from my work with Blue Star Mothers, people just started donating money in Josh's memory. And my husband and I just kind of took a year or so to think about what we wanted to do with the money. And then we started talking to veterans who were deployed with Josh, started talking to them and saying, you know, what do you think would have helped Josh? What would help you? And they all said, we want a place to hang out and be together and play video games. That's all they wanted. So we said, you know, why don't we combine, I have a background in integrative health therapies, and why don't we combine that with just a recreation facility so that they can hang out, play video games, play a game of pool, and, you know, have some aromatherapy or a massage or chiropractic treatment. So that's kind of the genesis of how this all happened.
Let me follow and continue with that. What are some of the opportunities, some of the, whether they're services or programs that are now available through Josh's house?
Along with the recreational piece, we have a full computer lab. We want to offer classes that will help veterans with their, you know, education, furthering their education, or just having a place to study. We want to offer guitar lessons, healing waters. We want to bring healing waters in to do some fly fish tying. But this space is really for the veteran. So if somebody comes in and they want to do something here, then we want to hear about it so that we can offer it if it's within reason.
You have a gym facility, you've got the recreation spaces. Yes. Is this what you envisioned and imagined as you began to put this together?
It is. It really is. It's incredible. I choke up every time I walk in these doors and think, wow, it's even more than I could have imagined. Eventually, I'd like to have a bigger gym space. You know, we always want a bigger space for other offerings, but and you know, this may be jumping the gun, but this is not our one and only facility that we want. We plan to open up a few more in Vermont, and then I want one in the country, every state in the country, eventually.
Val, is it difficult, in your opinion, for veterans to get the services they need? Are there barriers?
I think there are some barriers. I think location is a barrier. I think for veterans who are, you know,
isolation, rural?
Isolation, correct. I think some of the treatments that are being offered might not be what the veteran actually needs. So a veteran who is struggling might not need counseling or want counseling. It might not be for him or her. They might just want the connection, to feel like they're not isolated, to feel like they can be with people who understand. So to answer your question about if there are barriers, I think there are some, but I also think the VA has done a great job of kind of knocking those barriers down and offering, you know, as much support as they can. I think this is different this space is different and giving them something in addition to what the VA and other organizations are offering.
So to do this, you had to build a lot of support, and particularly financial support. How did that happen?
You know, through events, word of mouth. You know, the Poorhouse is doing the pull tickets. They're donated to the Josh's Fund, to Josh Palata Fund. People will do a Facebook fundraiser for their birthday and have it be, you know, donations sent to the Josh Palata Fund. So it's just something as simple as that.
So it's these small individual pieces all the way up. I know we don't have time to get to everything, but I also know there were many companies, one in particular, that we wouldn't really be standing here if it wasn't for
REM development. And here's where I might lose it. Greg and I my husband and I have been friends with the Millers we went to school with the Millers. And Tim Miller and Stephanie Miller-Taylor, Bobby Miller's son and daughter, are incredible. They approached us and said they wanted to help. They've been following us for, you know, since Josh died. And they have donated the fit up. They did all the work in this space, and I just can't say enough about them.
Well, since I first met you several years ago, I've known that one of the many Vermont companies that's played a key role in raising funds and awareness with 14th Star Brewing, which is a veteran-owned Vermont craft brewery. Andrea Garnier is the CEO, or was the CEO of 14th Star when she first learned about Josh's House, and she's now the Executive Development Director for the Josh Palata Fund, and she's joined us here this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell us about your work with the Josh Palata Fund.
Oh, well, it started many years ago. I met Val shortly after I started with 14 Star, and she approached me about doing a potential beer release, which has become known as the 11 Bravo release, that up until COVID hit, we had been doing every year. We had 5 successful releases of that beer that 14 Star donated all of the profits from to the Josh Palata Fund. And when COVID hit, I hit Val up and said, give me something to do. Let me work on bringing a little bit more brand awareness and trying to build a greater social media following, and also with no events, looking for alternative fundraising ways to keep the mission going. So in August of last year, I came on board full-time.
So in your view, as you've seen this, how will Josh's House positively impact veterans?
One of the things that I remember talking to my brother, who's a veteran, about is having the ability to just hang out and talk to and be with others that have experienced many of the same things that he's experienced. And just giving them an opportunity to just be together, whether they don't talk about anything of you know, deep social impact or they do, just that ability to be together. And I think it also gives them a place to look forward to going. You know, when they come home from deployment, they aren't given any kind of time to transition, and they miss the opportunity to spend with those people that they were so closely tied to on a daily basis. So.
And Josh's House provides that. How would a veteran, now that you're open, how would a veteran access the services and programs and the facility here?
So our eventual plan is to be a 24/7 facility, but in the interim, people just give me a call. They'll call here, and the number 802-495-5915. It'll be up on our website. All they need to do is call. We'll let them know what hour somebody's going to be here. But eventually, the idea is that we'll have someone here all the time.
And if they have questions, they can go to the website, which is
joshpalatafund.org, or they can email info@joshpalatafund.org.
Well, thank you both. This has been a real pleasure and treat to visit with you and to see inside here at Josh's House, a long time in the making for veterans to take advantage of. Thank you both.
Anytime. You come
My
in
pleasure.
anytime.
The U.S. Census reports that there are more than 19 million veterans in this country, and that includes 100 veterans who attend the University of Vermont. Before the pandemic, Keith Silva met a veteran at UVM who was learning what it's like to go from being a soldier to becoming a student.
Through the GI Bill of Rights, the government pays Sergeant Brown's school up to $500 a year. while Brown gets $50 a month for subsistence.
Like Sergeant Brown in this promotional film, today's veteran is going back to school and trying to readjust to being a civilian.
This sounds so cheesy, but I have like a thirst for learning. I always want to know stuff.
Stephanie Wabi is a combat veteran. A U.S. Army sergeant, she served in Iraq and Afghanistan as a line medic and rose to the position of battalion senior medic. With her hair down and wearing a hoodie, she admits she looks more average college student than war veteran.
The typical veteran, I feel like, for the regular person is someone with a high and tight, someone who is not necessarily a person of color, and someone who has a beard now, I'm assuming, you know, and I just don't fit in any of those categories. So I think my presence as a veteran is a little surprising to people, but it also, in a way, humanizes that veterans can be anyone.
Wabi enlisted in the Army out of high school. Her first assignment was Fort Riley, Kansas, 1st ID, 2nd Brigade. When she enrolled at UVM in 2017, she realized she wasn't in Kansas or the military anymore.
People would walk in late, and that never would happen in my time in the military. You would just get in trouble if you walked in late or interrupted a session or even just walked out when the class wasn't over. You're not in the military anymore. If someone's late, that's on them. You know, you're not responsible for everybody, and that's fine. Yeah.
Once the Elysia Gauls move, it's back to the Romans?
Wabi is studying Caesar's Gallic War in the Department of Classics. If she isn't a typical veteran, then this isn't a typical class either. Students use dice, foam tiles, and a giant map to play out the different military campaigns. John Franklin is the teacher.
Those kind of games really help students to find the text more interesting. The text can be bewildering and boring because they have all these names you've never heard, place names, people names, like, these people mean nothing to me. But when you start seeing them in the games, like, so, you know, this, if I capture this city, it's going to prevent the Romans from, you know, going up that valley. And then when you run into those names again, the next week's reading is like, oh yeah, that's that place.
This is the third time Wabi has taken a class from Franklin. The first one was to study the Odyssey. The class was only offered to veterans attending UVM. At first, she dismissed it.
I thought it was just an advertisement, like junk mail, and I was on my way to deleting it, and then I read through it, and I thought, you know, why not? This is my first semester in a new school. I don't know anybody. I might as well do this. And when I went, it was really the most refreshing transition. It helped me really make friends and kind of understand myself through the Odyssey.
In a nutshell, the Odyssey is a story of a soldier returning home from war. Franklin patterned the course after a similar one taught at Dartmouth. He's taught the Odyssey numerous times, but never like this.
They had lots of observations and insights about the Odyssey that had not occurred to me because I was not coming to it from the perspective of someone that had served in war.
Studying the Odyssey with fellow veterans helped Wabi feel less isolated. The classroom discussions also ignited a passion she didn't know she had.
So I had dreams of becoming a cardiothoracic surgeon and returning actually to the military as an officer. Reality struck. I did not like my subject that much, and I found that I loved English much more. And I mean, thinking of Tim O'Brien, Sebastian Unger, Tim Hetherington, like people who had gone to war and written about it and communicated the severity, the urgency, and the importance of being in war or in the military itself, that kind of resonated with me much more than going back to war as a doctor. And so that's why I changed my major to English, to better communicate that. And I mean, I love it.
It's been great. Writing gives Wabi a place to work out her time in the service and the adjustment she's made from military to civilian life.
The community that I have now, including non-veterans, they're so understanding and they try their hardest to kind of meet me halfway when I'm going through like emotions about my past time in the service. And a lot of the time, these emotions come up in more intimate settings, like workshops, writing workshops. And so I feel like I'm exposing a lot of myself in these essays, and a lot of the people that are attending these workshops also come from different walks of life, and they're all very understanding, and they're all very, you know, sensitive to what they say about my piece. It's not to say that they're tiptoeing or, you know, trying to hold back on their criticisms, but they're tactful and they think things through before saying something. And I think the community here is like, they're very understanding. I think they're very accommodating as well.
From being a soldier to becoming a student, this former GI has found a home at the University of Vermont. In Burlington, I'm Keith Silva with Across the Fence.
And that's our program for today. Once again, thank you for joining us Across the Fence. Have a safe and happy Memorial Day. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.